Oh, 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 no. Oh, oh. Oh. What's up, chat? Oh. How are we doing today? I ate some food and my belly grew really big. You could say that it's a form of male preg. Guys, I know this is a weird topic to start the entire stream with, but what do you think about cumflation? Speaking of your belly growing really big, I kind of feel like it's a inferior version of the pregnancy fetish, and it's kind of unnecessary. Please do not uwu type in chat, or else I'll have to time you out like I do Constrictor every day. It's stupid, lol. I don't know, it's dumb. I'd rather the artist just do like a time-lapse pregnancy. I feel like the pregnancy fetish is kind of underserved, but not just like the pregnancy fetish. If I'm gonna make a porn doujin, I'm just gonna go full-on cum, and then I'll make sure that there's a pregnancy stage of the female, but then I'll make sure that there's the second and third pregnancy scenes with the multiple kids. See, I feel like if we are to satisfy the male fantasy of full possession of the female, which is the general point of male-oriented hentai, we have to know that not only have you impregnated her through Nakadashi, but also you have accounted for her having a fulfilling lifestyle as a housewife, allowing her to breed multiple children. Let's give her glasses. So I think all the hentai should end showing her as a happy mother who has 3 children and a 4th along the way. Only then can we truly know that we have dominated her. Again, I feel like this is a very underserved part of the hentai community. Because I know there's all like the whole corruption and stuff, but is there truly anything more corrupting of a female than turning her into a successful breeding vessel, also known as a housewife? Luckily, all the negative aspects of childbirth don't actually happen in hentai, so you don't have to worry about the vagina getting loose and stuff in hentai. It's only the positives. But even if we're speaking in terms of real terms, there is nothing more corrupting than the female body being forced to stretch and accommodate a gigantic baby thing. I mean, we have an entire horror movie franchise based on this in Alien. Now that's another version of male preg right there. And hentai, even the negative consequences of incest never occur? Yeah. You standing next to her wearing the I'm the Cum Man t-shirt. People say that we can't have male pregnancies, but Alien begs to differ. Uwu. Facehugger-chan, don't male preg my chest cavity. Kya, I'm giving birth. And then the thing pops out of your fucking chest. Also, I just like to point out that they keep on referring to xenomorphs as like the ultimate life form, but the fact that xenomorphs have to go through an entire process of finding a host, having like a secondary creature attach itself to the host, stick like something into its chest cavity, and then like wait for the thing to burst out of the chest cavity, and then the thing has to kind of crawl around in a state of vulnerability before it can grow to like a full-size creature. The fact that it has to go through all these steps, I think, kind of disqualifies it from being the ultimate life form, if you think about it. If we're going by those standards, like, some kind of bacteria is probably ultimate life form, because, like, good luck trying to wipe out all the bacteria on the Earth, you know? I feel like any large animal can't be the ultimate life form just based on, like, survivability alone. It's too dependent on the smaller portions of the ecosystem. The solar plexus is the man's vaju. Yes. It's also the females if they get implanted by a facehugger. No, I don't want to give birth to a xenomorph cap. A good life form doesn't wipe out its food source, that too. Although it's unclear, we've never had enough aliens around for them to know if they would actually wipe out their life, their food source or whatever if we left them alone. So it's kind of hard to say, but I think the ultimate is more about it being an apex predator. Well, considering it's lost like 10 times to humans with flamethrowers, it's not that much of an apex predator. Anyways, it's not even a real life form, it's a fucking bioweapon. I'm a pretty big Prometheus defender. I think it's a pretty good movie. There's a lot of anti-Prometheus people out there. I kind of am a pro-Prometheus human, but I just like to point out that I wasn't exactly happy with the whole reveal that it's just like Xenomorph isn't just a thing on its own. It's something that like they created out of their black goo bioweapon bullshit. That's why Predators are the apex predators, or Arnold Schwarzenegger. In general, I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is the apex predator. Get to the chopper! Come with me if you want to live. A pro-Prometheus human, yes. It's an alright movie, but it kind of misses the point of Alien as a whole. Yeah, but we already had Alien as a whole multiple times. It was made by the same director. Ridley Scott wanted to do something else besides Alien as a whole. I, in fact, don't think it misses the point of Alien as a whole. The point of Alien as a whole is being like, look, we're in space. Oh no, creepy body horror. I'm gonna die. People who want to overanalyze it and be like, oh no, you're actually missing the point, I think are missing the point themselves. Prometheus added like a bunch of stuff like God and the search for life and shit as well, but I don't think it misses the point of Alien. He just made Alien again, but way worse. I don't think he made Alien again, but way worse. I think it has some of the themes of Alien, but it's a pretty different movie. The entirety of Alien is just spooky monster in the ship, whereas Prometheus has a bunch of other themes, like I just said. It has concepts of like religion and society. Now, I recently watched Alien Romulus. That's definitely just a remake of Alien 1, and it's supposed to be a remake of Alien 1. Then Prometheus adds all this lore that isn't even interesting. We're already way past the stage of like, you don't know anything about it, considering the Alien franchise has been rolling around doing whatever the fuck it wanted to do for a really long time. We're all familiar with xenomorphs thanks to our 500 gig xenomorph female porn folders. The only Alien movies I have seen is Alien, Aliens, and Aliens vs. Predators in the Arctic. That's basically all you need to watch, if we're going to be honest. You don't need to watch all the other things. Stuff like Prometheus is only valuable to you if you just like enjoy the general atmosphere that comes in the Alien franchise. That's really what Alien is about, more than any kind of other themes, is it's like an atmosphere movie. Most of the best movies really are just atmosphere movies. Alien industrialized rape. Honestly, there's a lot of rape in Alien, but I could have used a little bit more rape. Aliens without suggestive imagery is not worth it. I feel like the xenomorph head equals penis is kind of overdone, though. I don't look at bananas every day and I'm like, you know what, that looks like a cock. That's where Score alienated me. I mean, Scorn is pretty obviously just like, we're just gonna... If you like looking at Geiger architecture, we're just gonna make a video game out of it. And that's about it. It doesn't really have any other... I haven't even played it, and I know it doesn't have much, like, real gameplay, so... It is a penis, though. Yeah, but it's like... Talking about how the alien architecture and the alien heads by Geiger are penises is kind of being like, oh, maybe Epstein didn't commit suicide, guys. Look at this idea I have. Oh my god. How did I figure this out? I'm so fucking smart. There's no way Epstein actually killed himself. Right, guys? I bet you haven't noticed this. It's like, no shit. It's literally the first thing that every single person has already thought of. You're not fucking special, okay? Your analysis is incredibly shallow. In fact, it's the thing that's like at the top of everybody's head. Please shut the fuck up. Well, an alien egg rapes you. You can get raped by eggs in real life as well. You just need to eat ones when they're undercooked and full of salmonella. Salmonella is something that I think about frequently when I'm living in Japan because the Japanese are constantly insisting on eating shit raw. This truly takes me back to college and the grumpy film dudes. We have to have slightly deeper analysis than xenomorph head looks like penis, okay? We're gonna do better than that. Come on, guys. They store eggs differently in Japan. They wash the antibacterial film off them in America. Huh. I didn't know that's how it works. But basically, the entirety of Japanese society is built around Japanese people's desire to eat things raw all the time, so... If you truly put your mind to it, all stories lead to dicks. Personally, me being a heterosexual male, I'd like to think that all stories lead to the bussy. Sometimes stories lead to the girl bussy, or the gussy, as we like to call it. Everything is about sex except sex in fiction. Yeah, when sex shows up in fiction, they're like, no, this is actually a manifestation of the political power struggle during the Cold War. And you're like, oh, thank you, Kojima, you've done it again. What a brilliant story. Brilliant Kojima reference to Godzilla for the 10th time. How does he do it? Remember when Kojima wore a rubber mask of a man whose face was all bandages? No, I don't remember that. I don't follow whatever stupid shit Kojima is doing. It's a shame that we didn't get the Silent Hills version of Kojima, though. Honestly, I feel like Kojima horror game had more potential than Death Stranding, although I don't dislike Death Stranding, even though I haven't played it. I'll play it at some point, I guess. Death Stranding was fine, but they don't go hard enough on wacky delivery mechanics. Can't you, like, slingshot the guy out of, like, a giant catapult or some shit? I know there's, like, a lot of weird physics stuff you can do. I just like the concept of time-consuming walking stuff. I'm a big believer in the idea that if you want to have an adventure game, you have to be dedicated to the concept of distance. And you can't just be like, we're going to allow you to fast travel everywhere. Although I guess you do have fast travel in Death Stranding, but... Like, for example, everyone complains about Wind Waker, the second half or the ending part of Wind Waker being extremely boring because you have to collect the Triforce pieces, and I think that is true, that it is boring. But I think when I remember the concept of Wind Waker and, like, the kind of the journey I was on during that game, it felt like I was doing actual, like, adventuring shit. And a lot of that is because they don't give you a ton of fast travel options. Same thing for stuff like Final Fantasy XI. Basically, Final Fantasy XIV ruined the sense of space and time and adventure by adding too much fast travel options. Once you can warp everywhere, it basically means that there is no, like, sense of physical space in the video game world. Wind Waker is a product of deadlines. Yeah, it doesn't have enough dungeons. It's clearly unfinished. Twilight Princess included the cut content ideas from Wind Waker, which is one of the 200,000 reasons it's a better game. I didn't finish Twilight Princess because I realized I fucking hated the art style. So much of a video game is about, like, atmosphere and art style for me, and I found, like, everything in Twilight Princess to be incredibly ugly. Like, there was always a lot of ugliness in Zelda. Like, the characters would be, like, purposefully ugly, but they always kept it kind of a little cartoonish. Whereas in Twilight Princess, like, they completely fucked that balance up. And it's just straight up ugly. It was just really painful to look at. You are a fake 2000s core guy? Nah, you're all fake 2000 cores guy. I'm the only real gamer here. If you had even a tenth of the gamer energy I have. You can't hate Twilight Princess art direction and be 2000s core. I'm gonna exile you. Twilight Princess is just straight up ugly. It takes the brown and bloom problem that a lot of that stuff was starting to develop pre-Modern Warfare, but it already has the brown and bloom going on. And then, like, all the character artwork is fucking ugly. Let's look at some of the images of Twilight Princess characters. Twilight Princess characters. Here we go, guys. This is not a world in which I want to spend my time. It's like the combination of both the facial aspects being unattractive and then like the grotesqueness of all the different details. Everything about Twilight Princess is generally ugly. Like, look at this shit. This is like a fucking One Piece character, except even worse. You cannot fucking tell me that you want to spend 50 hours in a game. This is like complete just Nintendo fucking cope, guys. You want to play a video game in which you spend your time looking at a character that looks like this? Look at the fucking head proportions. It's legitimately this, bro. I've written an entire fucking page on how to make characters ugly. We're like, yes, His ears are literally above his eyeballs, guys. I've basically said that as long as you keep this kind of like T-balance for the facial structure, eyes, nose, and stuff here, as long as this balance is relatively balanced out and clean, you can make a lot of different character designs without having them look ugly. And this is obviously the opposite of that. Everything is fucking... The eyes are somehow both too far apart and also too close together because the nose is massive. And if this was like one fucking character, that would be something. But it's basically all of the fucking characters follow this shit. It's absolutely disgusting. And then you combine that with the fucking horrible lighting and the color schemes and stuff. It's just straight up ugly. Everybody who says like, no, it's not ugly, are in denial because they were just staring at Midna's ass the entire time. It's okay to do cartoony unattractiveness. Look at Dampé from Ocarina of Time. It is not okay to do cartoony unattractiveness when you have too much details, which is the problem with Twilight Princess. Ocarina of Time avoids the cartoony unattractiveness by having fewer amounts of details, and it stays firmly in the cartoony area, but Twilight Princess does not. That's the difference. It's too detailed and the caricatures are awkward, yes. Wind Waker also has unattractive characters. But again, they're heavily stylized. You have to be careful if you're even start to add a small amount of realism in your art style, your cartoonish art style, because things can look grotesque and ugly very quickly. So assuming Twilight Princess is grotesque, how is it not stylized? It's not stylized enough. It has too much information. It does not leave information to the imagination. You can have a character that looks like this, and we're not like, oh man, this guy is so fucking ugly. But then you take this, and then you go, all right, let's, this is a new game with a new video game engine. Let's, notice how the more and more skin detail I add to this ugly fucker, the less attractive and less fun it is to look at this guy, as you can see all the boils and shit on his face. This is why women spend a shit ton of money putting powder that makes you not let you see the definition of their skin pores and stuff. This is why people have difficulty jacking off to 4K porn, although I guess people have gotten used to it and they also have a lot of filters now. This is a unthreatening big guy in a children's video game. This is an extremely threatening, ugly bastard in a hentai now. Generally, I do not understand your argument. It's okay, not everybody can have the sort of aesthetic gifts and understanding of core aesthetic principles that an artist such as myself have. That's why I'm a professional and you're sitting in chat. The Speed Racer Wachowski film has so much CGI information. Are we going to say that somehow not stylized as a comic book manga film? It's stylized, but it's stylized unsuccessfully. The core point of cartooning is having less detail and finding the inherent shapes and the beauty inherent shapes and themes and symbol drawing and stuff like that. The more is more approach quickly becomes very bad looking if you don't have a very strong aesthetic sensibilities, which the Twilight Princess people did not. Bro has not said a single correct thing in the past 10 minutes. Patreon users go out of their way to do 4K 3D porn versions of their work. Are you talking about the 4K 3D porn versions of like a person or of 2D? Because if it's a person, they have filters on so you can't see all their fucking skin blemishes. And if it's 2D, then making a 4K version with like hyper detail doesn't make any difference because you're making sure that you don't add any ugly details. The problem with Twilight Princess is that they started to add all the ugly details. 4K renders of 3D models, I mean, see, you don't fucking know what you're talking about. It's a fucking 3D model. It already is. Oh my god. Alright, I don't have to talk to you about this shit because you don't even know what you're talking about. It's a 3D model! It already has all the details removed. It doesn't have fucking skin pore quality and shit. Are you the same guy who keeps on saying that Final Fantasy VIII is like a bad video game? because I can't remember if you were the guy, but if you are, that just means we have like. Oh, okay. I've basically have a policy to not time out people just for uh, disagreeing with me, but I think I'm going to time you out. I will stand by my opinion. No, I say that. You can say that it's a bad video game just from. He'll be back in 10 minutes. Or maybe not. I don't know. SpongeBob has a simple style everyone can enjoy, but if SpongeBob was made entirely with the style of the gross out card, nobody would watch it. Yes. 8 is many good things that clash into disaster. Final Fantasy 8 is not a bad uh, experience as an RPG, but it is a bad video game gameplay wise. In terms of just like, if you think about the average person who doesn't understand how you can abuse the junction system, that's going to be sitting drawing magic from a enemy for like 10 minutes at a time. See, the core experience of a RPG is going on a journey with your buddies, and Final Fantasy VIII successfully does that. So, it's more important to have a good atmosphere and world building and music and stuff like that than it is to be worrying about the gameplay. In fact, Dragon Quest, the most beloved of all games in Japan, has always had pretty boring ass gameplay because a lot of it comes down to levels and stuff like that. It gets worse the more you understand about it. Wrong. Final Fantasy VIII is one of the best games when you start to get deep into the theories and stuff because it has one of the most interesting, like, the writers probably didn't calculate for it, but the Rinoa equals Ultimecia theory kind of ties the entire story together. But then, like, Square Enix doesn't know whether they should go with it or not. I think it's possible that, like, one of the writers knew about it or was thinking about it and the other writers weren't. Deep into the theories, you mean fanfic stuff? Well, that's why I'm saying it's interesting. There's a lot of fanfics that don't make sense, and I generally don't fuck with that shit. But the Final Fantasy VIII stuff, it aligns too cleanly to ignore. That's what I like about it. To the point where it gets you thinking that there must have been like one of the writers was like planning this. What if I were to purchase fast food and disguise it as my own cooking? Everybody eats the same fast food, so they'd be able to notice that it's not your own cooking and that it's fast food. They'd be like, this is the flavor of Wendy's. I can't draw hands. Can't draw hands, Baal is AI confirmed. A lot of people make that joke, but AI is actually very good at drawing hands. That's the paradoxical thing about AI, is that AI can do, for some reason, it's really good at doing the suggestion of hands and like the three-dimensionality and the movement of the way the hand curls around objects, which is what is really difficult. But it can't remember that hands don't have 6 fingers. Now it's actually not any better. It still has the same finger problem that it always has. As someone who looks at AI porn on a daily basis, if you actually go through like AI porn sets that are clearly using some of the newer models, it still gets the number of fingers wrong like about 10% of the time. If you actually go through every single image and instead of looking at the giant tits and cocks and you're like, let me check all the fingers, 100% it has anatomical mistakes in hands on a pretty consistent basis. But what's difficult about hands when you're drawing them is like they're like the ultimate combination of three-dimensional object difficulty combined with like characterization and acting and stuff as well. So you have to think about so many things, but they're just very difficult. Well, I can't argue against a field which I don't do research in. If you go through all the hentai porn you made using AI on Pixiv and actually like check the hands in every single situation, there's mistakes where there's like an extra arm or too many fingers, or a thing that often happens is there's too many of these joints right here. Not the joints, but what do you call them? The bones going from the knuckles to the wrist. I forgot what they're called. Sometimes there'll be the correct number of fingers, but too many of those. So this is just like an inherent problem in LLMs and diffusion models, is that it's always going to be like a percentage-based thing. And like 10% of the time it's going to be incorrect. Like I assume if you created a script in which you kept on asking an LLM like 100,000 times what 2 plus 2 was, it'd give you like the incorrect calculation like a certain percentage of the time. It would be like 5 or 3 sometimes. They seem to have eased up on the cluster hands. It's gotten better just because of the amount of training data that has been pumped into it. But it hasn't solved the core issue, which is why you can't really rely on the LLMs and diffusion models to do anything like run a nuclear power plant and stuff like that, which is why it's really stupid that they are these tech companies are basing their entire economic strategy on something that's gonna give them an incorrect, hallucinated answer like 10% of the time, no matter how hard they try. People who are super enthusiastic about AI don't understand it completely with its limitations. Our entire economy is based on tech bros trying to create a machine god that will give them all the money. That's basically our economic model right now. It's all based around not whether the models can be used for something at the current moment, but like if we can discover AGI, then we'll be infinitely rich. It's a very stupid calculation, but it is what it is now, unfortunately. Who would be a better power plant worker, Homer Simpson or ChatGPT? Well, considering Homer Simpson lives in the cartoon world in which serious nuclear plant disasters only result in funny hijinks, it's nice that there's a limit to how stupid things can get, so it crashes when necessary. Things that I'm waiting to crash on based on my YouTube recommendations telling me they're going to crash soon. The Russian economy, the Chinese economy, the United States economy. Sometimes the Japanese economy. Any day now, guys. China is finished. Japan is finished. The AI bubble is about to burst. Eventually, all of these things will definitely happen. They just don't have to specify when, so they don't have to, the YouTube predictors don't have to get in trouble. Too many parlor tricks, not enough actual substance. There has never been a technology in the past where, like, this thing is amazing, but it only works and gives you exactly what you want, like 1 out of 10 tries. And sometimes it gives you something that's catastrophically incorrect. Like, we've never had an RNG-based technology as, like, the primary technology behind some sort of mechanism that's supposed to work. In the past, all our previous technologies that we relied on, their appeal was that they were more constant and reliable than human workers. Whereas AI is the first time we've had something that's like, yeah, it can do all this shit, but it might give you the thing that you don't want a certain percentage of the time. If we had started with technologies that were kind of RNG based, we might have like developed other things that would serve as workarounds. But in this case, we don't have any of it, so I don't think it's possible for it to be functional in society. They fixed Grok. You can make any image if you typed in the prompt in Hindu, but today, even in Hindu, Grok refused to edit the image of UK's Prime Minister to be in BDSM gear with a rainbow ball gag. No. That's another thing, is that the languages that have that are basically just non-English, they have less trading data, so you can fuck around it way more, but it's also, you know, less functional. Creation has always been trial and error. Not even tech can escape this cycle. What I'm saying specifically is not necessarily the trial and error idea, but that, like, for example, there haven't been a lot of machinery that has been able to technology that has able to replace humans. Actually, if you look through a lot of stuff over time, but for example, one thing that replaced all the workers immediately, very quickly, was like switchboard operators. We used to have a huge army of women that were working. Whenever you would call something, there would have to be these females standing in a room, and they would have to like pull these plugs out of one hole and stick them into the other hole so that your call could be sent to the right location. This was all done manually. And then one day, one person invented an automatic switchboard, and every single one of these people got fired because this thing would just do all that shit automatically, and it was faster and more efficient. Same thing for like cigarette rollers, for example. There used to be a massive employment industry of people who could roll cigarettes quickly and then pack them. We were doing that shit by hand. And then one day a dude invented an automatic cigarette rolling machine. And that could roll like 200 cigarettes a minute or a second or whatever. And then all the cigarette rollers were out of a job. We still have cigar rollers for high price luxury goods, but I assume you don't mind the people on YouTube that do dubs of your work. I basically ignore whatever happens to my work on the internet. I just don't really care what the secondaries do. There's no way for me to prevent it anyways, so I basically consider anything that gets put on the internet to be free use content. So what I'm saying is that for like things like cigarette rolling and switchboard operation and stuff like that, you're taking something that was being done by hand and you're making it more accurate and faster. That was always like the benefits of having a machine, is that it was supposed to be accurate, right? I wonder if society will ever trend back to artisan human-made goods. It won't trend backward, but there will always be a demand for it. Hence why you can still get hand-rolling cigars. You can get a extremely industrial-made porcelain bowl at your local Walmart, but you can also get a handmade bowl still that's hand-painted and stuff, and you can pay $10 or $30 for it, which is, 5 times the price of a normal bowl, and you don't want to drop it, but people still buy that shit. You can buy it any day in Japan. What I'm saying is that the current AI is weird if we look at the evolution of technology in history, because it's the first time that a technology that is inherently unreliable has been pushed. We've never had unreliable technologies until this point. It was always the human-made stuff that were unreliable. But this is the first time since industrialization began in which we were like, this might not work like half the time. It's a very weird situation. All right, I have to take a piss. Anyways, so... Did a little pee come out when you sat down just now? Good, you deserve that. I didn't sit down. I told myself I was going to be sitting down. When pissing, now that I'm no longer in my mother's house and I'm renting, but I just stood up and pissed today. I have to clean the toilet anyways, so... Industrial Revolution was the apex when carriages were main means of travel. I mean, it wasn't the transition from carriages to like cars and stuff. That was the primary thing of Industrial Revolution. It was automation of stuff like the loom and shit, right? It helps me stay productive in drawing after work. We all have to draw. Millions must draw. I've been getting better at drawing recently. It only took me 25 years. Oh. I think this Gen AI shit is here to stay, but I think art will have more value down the line. Well, I'm generally not worried about art when I'm talking about AI, even though that's like what I'm supposed to be worried about. I'm thinking more in terms of the entire tech industry and economy being built around the idea that somehow, so for the amount of investment that's currently being put into AI, for that to be justified, it basically has to transform the entire economy around people constantly using AI, like smartphones did, for example, or the internet. It has to be an incredibly transformative technology in which everybody uses it. And we basically don't have any evidence that that's going to happen to the least degree. So much of art has been about name value and stuff instead of the content of what you're producing for a long time now, that I honestly never considered art to be in danger just because you could generate an image. We've already gone through this multiple times with the invention of photography, making realism less valuable, except there are still people who are draw realistic shit professionally as well. If you can paint an incredibly realistic landscape painting, for example, people are still going to, spend a lot of money buying that, even if they can get a photo. If you can paint shit in an impressionistic style, people are going to still pay a lot of money for that. Even though you can take a photo and put an impression filter on it in Instagram or whatever. I just wonder how they will prevent AI from being more of an Ouroboros than it is now. The piss filter and image generation as a result of that. I don't know if they can prevent it. So far, what I've seen is that the AI companies don't really have any solutions besides just being like, we will train more, we'll make more data centers. More. If we just keep on doing the economies of scale, eventually we'll just have AGI and then everything will solve itself. Seems to be the approach to everything. So I don't think they have any good ideas anymore. In fact, before all the piss filter and like training on AI repeatedly problems start to come into the open, I think they'll have financial issues. I'm not a specialist. I can't read the books and stuff like that, but I've had multiple people say that this is basically a financial impossibility to the point that it's like a fucking joke. It's like billions and billions of dollars for data centers that haven't been built yet. And even if they were built, they don't have the electricity to run them. And even if they were going to run them, there's nobody that's willing to pay and use this stuff. So the problem goes way deeper than just like, oh, there's not enough training data left. No one gives a fuck about a 30-second generated art piece. Every single AI quote-unquote art thing is just a tech demo. And if you're in the gaming sphere, you know a lot about tech demos in that they are not a finished product. Everybody gets hype about, you know, what The Witcher 3 is supposed to look like, but that was never what The Witcher 3 was actually going to look like. It's just, you know, promises they make to get you hyped up. And that's the entirety of AI right now. I'll start worrying about AI when there's literally one, quote-unquote, one finished piece of entertainment or art that everybody likes. But there currently are zero. So, yeah. I don't feel particularly threatened. Even in the ways it's useful, it isn't profitable. A really difficult thing is starting something off as free and then trying to convince people that they need to pay money for that thing. This is one of the hardest shit that you can try and do, is take something that was free and people be like, yes, but now you have to pay for it. Most people are going to be like, fuck off, no, I've been using this for free for the last 10 years. So, yeah, they're going to have some difficulty. I think they already have all the customers that are willing to pay for it, and trying to expand their customer base into people that were like, I will fiddle with this for a few minutes because it's free, but I'm not going to pay for it. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to convince those people that they need to start paying for this shit. In fact, I think it's impossible. Every AI thing is a potential, man. Now imagine if this AI proof of concept existed as a full thing anyway and then it doesn't get made. Like the animation clips that they keep on posting on Twitter, the AI bros keep on posting on Twitter, seem good enough that I keep on wondering if the animation industry could use it in like some limited amount, considering the animation industry is always running at a deficit and they desperately need ways to reduce the amount of labor and stuff like that. But the fact that I haven't heard any cases in which it was used successfully. And instead, what I've heard is anime studios being like, in the future, we will use AI, guys, trust us. Which is like obviously what these companies say when they're trying to appeal to shareholders, when they think that will, you know, boost their profit margins and shit like that. Not profit margins, but boost shareholder confidence in them. That makes me think the opposite, that it won't ever be used. There must be some sort of fundamental problem that they can't overcome to use it in animation. Even for, like, you know, quick clips and stuff like that. Like, maybe it can't give them exactly what they want in ways in which they can, like, connect it to the next scene or whatever. It would be interesting to see, or it's probably more like there's stuff where they just don't have the training data, so they just can't straight up generate specific things and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to be able to talk to, like, a professional animator and have them explain why it can't be used right now. Because it definitely can't be used. If it could be used, they'd already be using it. Only Steam managed that. Piracy was free game. Steam was more convenient. I may be wrong, though. I mean, Steam was... What it did was it made it that you could... you wouldn't have to deal with, like, the installation process, which is always the biggest pain in the ass in PC gaming, right? Is that, like, sometimes the game wouldn't run unless you had all the drivers, and then Steam was just like everything, it just downloads it directly from the launcher and you don't have to worry about shit. I remember when, if you wanted to play Final Fantasy VII, it came in a big cardboard box with, like, multiple CDs in it, and then when it wouldn't execute properly, you'd be like, what the fuck is wrong? Is my computer good enough to play this? What's the problem here? And then Steam comes along and then it just works. And that's the most important thing, is that it just works, right? If people can pay $5 for a thing and then avoid a lot of headache in the various installation and, like, trying to figure out the drivers and stuff process, they'd rather pay $5 for the thing. The body motions are too unnatural with Gen AI animations. Yeah, but there's a lot of, like, almost non-existent animation as well in, like, low-budget Japanese isekai anime and stuff like that. Let's see if I go on Twitter right now. In my recommendations, there'll just be usually someone recommending their AI generation. Let's see if anything shows up. Nope, not really getting anything. Oh, here's a video of a Chinese umamusume Here we have a Uma Musume character washing clothes in rural China. Chinese man runs up to her. And it's implied they have sex. I guess. He grabs her from the legs. Wait, what just happened here? He grabs her around the waist and then his arm goes through her legs, just sort of warps through her legs to be able to hold her in Hime-sama Dakko. Umas are like 200 kilograms, he would die. I'm just saying that if we're going with like the super low budget Japanese anime, I feel like there would be a way in which you could fix this, but there probably isn't. Does it imply that he lasts like 5 seconds because her laundry basket isn't flooding over? That's why the person who retweeted that they were joking about that, but I don't think the person who made that in the beginning. Didn't morons try to use Gen AI to fix One Punch Man Season 3? Ended up being worse? Yeah, I'm pretty sure someone did do that, and I haven't checked out the different versions. The thing is that when anime is poorly animated, it has less movement, so it's not intrusive. When AI is poorly animated, it has more shit going on, so it's super distracting. So this is another situation in which less is probably more. Like, people can ignore flaws or lack of stuff if it's not pushed in their face, whereas AI is going to be full of mistake, and it's also going to be very showy. Like the hyper detailed still images that also have like 5 arms by mistake and stuff like that. Look up Narrow Viz on YouTube and his Unanswered Oddities series. Shit is hilarious, and not because of jank, because there is none. The AI creator that I like is this Japanese YouTuber that has discovered the use of AI is best for recreating non-existent Japanese 90s commercials. Specifically because I was watching TV in Japan in the 90s, and it's like exactly like that. Here, let me show you. It's actually very well done, I would say. But you have to basically have someone behind the curtain manipulating the shit and making the stuff. I can't remember what he was called. Let's see. It can't create or fix anything. The problem is that in order to fix shit, you just have to like regenerate it, I guess. It really is just like a percentage based. You're pulling the slot machine, right? And in order to fix it, if you can't just draw over it directly, you have to pull the slot shit machine again, and you just have to pull it again and again and again, hoping you get something that is right enough. which it often ends up being less efficient than someone who's not that even that good doing it right on the first time. If you are willing to ignore a lot of flaws, then this is the channel I'm talking about. He made an entire fake 80s, 90s, early 90s anime. The joke being the main character is cooks everything using MSG. He's dumping MSG in all of his cooking. But he actually posted how he made it, and he went through all the process of like making character sheets using AI for all the characters so that the animation could use the character sheets when they were doing the animation process. It's full of jank, but people who are watching this, of course, don't really care about it. They're just watching it for like this weird feeling of fake nostalgia. And then he has like an entire series of like commercials that never actually existed in the 90s. And as someone who was watching TV, Japanese TV in the 90s, it looked exactly like that. For example, here's a commercial for a anti-nuclear missile bunker. But again, this is basically taking the strengths of AI and using it efficiently. The strength of AI being it can imitate stuff in an incomplete mode. What the fuck is this shit, Fallout? It's a joke! Only 6 million yen for a bunker. That's a bargain. That would be the equivalent of like about $800,000 in today's money. Maybe like about $100,000 after inflation in today's money. It's pretty cheap, but again, it's non-existent. So. I don't know about this hair right here. Have a good night at 1 a.m. I went to bed at 12:30 yesterday. I'm trying hard to do the thing where you're supposed to go to bed at the same time every night, which is something I have never really tried, and I can actually feel how it affects my body's recovery and stuff. Really force myself to sleep. I managed it for like a month, but then I slipped and can't get back to it. Yeah. I have no excuses because I'm just living by myself and I don't have to wake up and go to work and shit, so it's all up to my own self, what do you call it? Self-control. Oh, hold on, I have to piss again. I just drank a shit ton of water before I started the stream. Ah, it's all coming out right now. Ah. Oh, go check your prostate, man. My prostate is fine. I woke up thirsty. I had miso soup, which is water, obviously, because it's soup. So I think it's that. Often health guidelines are like, make sure you're drinking enough water. And I don't know how people get to the point where they just don't drink water. When I eat food, I have to drink like a shit ton of water with it. Like 4 or 5 cups of water. Or else I don't like the feeling of not having water with my food. Like, I like washing my food down with water. I don't understand how people can, like, not drink a bunch of water when they eat. So because I properly ate breakfast before I started the stream, now I have to piss a bunch. I think the lower legs might be a little too long. I think drinking too much water can affect your digestion since it dilutes your stomach acid. Yeah, people are like, you shouldn't drink water while you eat. And I'm just like, I don't fucking care. I'm gonna drink my water, okay? My digestion is fine. I like drinking water. I'm gonna drink it, okay? But yes, people who are like, if you want to go for maximum efficiency, you shouldn't drink water while you eat. And I'm like, fuck no. I will be drinking my water, thank you. Something weird I found, my body works best when eating once a day. That's kind of how you get fat, though. Sumo wrestlers purposefully, well, they used to only eat once a day, but now even that isn't enough, so now they eat 3 times a day. But it used to be the strategy was like you would eat one super large meal once per day, and then you would sleep immediately after you ate it, so all the calories would directly go to fat. But nowadays, sumo wrestlers, they can't even gain enough weight doing that, so now they have to do that and then plus eat a few more extra meals as well. Depends on how much you eat. I mean, if you can only eat 1,000 calories for one meal and then the rest of the mode you're just like starving yourself, I guess that's fine, but I mean, the whole thing of like calories in, calories out is real, as in like you will not gain more weight than the amount of calories you're consuming. The question is that like most people who are like, "Oh, I'm not eating that much, but somehow I get fat." They're always lying when they're like, "How do I get fat? I'm not eating." And it's like, "Yes, you are. You're just not counting all like the snacks you're having. You're eating like an extra 1,000 calories worth of snacking in between meals." If you are actually only eating 1,000 calories, then you will lose weight no matter what happens. But of course, people aren't just living in a laboratory environment where they can only control their calories in, calories out, which is why you have to have all these like strategies of eating things in different orders and eating large amounts of protein and fiber so you don't feel hungry and so on and so on. I will say that I'm eating less carbs right now on purpose, and it does affect like your hunger instinct, like that feeling of like holy shit, I'm so hungry. That definitely was being caused by like the combination of sugar and like processed food and stuff like that. Like I would get super hungry and I'd be like, how the fuck do you not eat when you're this hungry? And it turns out that a lot of that is just like your gut bacteria getting fucked up by processed food and shit. A huge amount of our health is actually reliant on all of the microbes we have in our gut. And it's very hard to study that because it's going to change on an individual to individual basis. So a lot of our assumptions about like calories in, calories out stuff is kind of like too much of a simplification. If somebody was disciplined enough to only eat the calories they needed, they wouldn't be fat in the first place. So telling fat people that they can just be like, oh, just calories in, calories out, just calculate that shit and just don't eat is kind of a lost cause in the first place. Like, if they could do that, they wouldn't be fat. I just have 3 sugar coffees from Starbucks. Delicious. I fucking love sugar. But It's really fucking with our bodies. Does a trucker hat look like? Do trucker hats have different construction than a normal baseball cap? I don't think so. It just has that, well, they seem to be slightly larger and squarer. Yeah, I do think I think trucker hats are deeper than normal baseball caps. Stiff front and mesh back. Ah, what would an urban dwarf look like? Lumberjack, kind of. Yankees cap, big cock. You won't be able to see his cock because he's standing on the subway right now. Why am I drawing such a difficult three-dimensional object? I have to figure out the brim, right? It's like, okay, here's the face. It's gonna be like this. And then this is a kind of attached. Here's a center line. Uh, uh, like this. Trying to figure out the center line for everything really is kind of the cheat code for drawing three-dimensional objects properly, and everything is a three-dimensional object, so... I just told you guys the cheat code of how to get better at drawing is to find the center line for everything. Even like individual body parts. Just map it out. I guess I don't need this second. Yankee with a brim. I don't know if a urban dwarf would be a Yankee hat kind of guy. I feel like he'd support a less mainstream MLB team. I feel like he'd maybe be like a, I don't know, Orioles fan or something. Would there be any dwarfs living on the East Coast? I don't think so. I feel like they'd all be in the Midwestern mountain states. This lo-fi hip-hop is putting me to sleep. Minor rock themed team, yeah. Or beer themed team. The Milwaukee Brewers exist, guys. My most dwarf-looking friends like the Nets. Seems about right. I feel like dwarfs would be a curmudgeon, so... I don't think dwarfs would ever support something as popular as the Yankees, for example. And if the entirety of New York City is a Knicks city... Dwarves would find basketball impressive. Dwarves would insist that they're great basketball players despite being like 4.5 feet tall. We know this because Filipinos love basketball and they keep on talking about how great they are at basketball and shit like that, but, you know, they will never be successful because they're all super short. but that doesn't stop them from believing. Doesn't China like basketball? China actually has tall people. The reason why China is bad at basketball isn't because they're short. It's because China just has some sort of cultural issue where they're bad at team sports. It's not just basketball, they're bad at all team sports. Recently, the under 23 boys soccer team, the Chinese team lost to Japan by like 8-0 or something. So yeah, despite their huge population, and they funnel a ton of money and like talent into team sports because they really, really want to win in basketball and soccer and stuff like that, and they just consistently fail. The Filipinos are just too short to play basketball, and that's just like genetic issues. But there's something structurally about Chinese society, structural and cultural issues that cause China to just be really bad at team sports, and they've never been able to figure out why and correct that. How ironic that the communist team can't work together, lol. I mean, this has been the same for USSR as well, though. These Soviet and, like, post-Soviet states, they do well in individual sports due to, like, doping and shit like that. And just, like, extremely harsh training regimens. This is why China has, like, really good results in, like, diving and stuff. They don't really have to do any doping for diving, but, you know, they force these people to train non-stop, so they're good at like memorization and shit like that. But yeah, they've always been bad at team sports. It's not clear why. Isn't there a meme about them having awful spatial awareness because of growing up in huge crowds and shit? I mean, will that fuck with your spatial awareness? I don't know if that's the thing. USSR had great teams in certain sports. Don't think this culture thing applies to them. I mean, it had a good hockey team, but they still lost to an amateur US team, so I don't know. Anyway, China has like some serious... They've been trying to get good at team sports using all of their money and talent for many, many years now, and they can't even like crack the qualifier rounds for the World Cup and stuff. It's a certain facet of East Asian culture. Well, not East Asian culture, because Japanese beat the shit out of other teams in team sports. It's probably more due to like the various capitalist systems they have